Be still. Something here is not on these words. It is between the lines. The physical ear can never hear truth any more than the physical tongue can utter truth. If you listen with ears, you will take sentences. If you listen with silence, you will receive government. Now then, let the noise subside just enough for an inner recognition to begin its work. We have all carried a hidden premise, a private contract with the world. If I appear strong, I will be safe. If I admit weakness, I will be diminished. You know that bargain. It has organized your posture, your speech, your rehearsed composure. It has trained you to perform, to manage, to keep the trembling place out of sight. And it has starved you, not for more courage, but for bread that cannot be baked from self-effort. Not one in this room is hungry for more ideas. You are hungry to be relieved of the self that must always appear strong. Here is the reversal that the human ear does not like to hear. That weak place, precisely that one you keep hiding, is the door you keep missing. Weakness is not blocking grace. Weakness is exposing the false I that has been blocking grace. The shame you fear is only the costume of a performer whose role is ending. Let it end. The mask is not your face. The collapse of the pose is not the collapse of life. It is the beginning of life revealing itself without your costume. My kingdom is not of this world. Not of this world. It isn't even an improved this world. The tools of this world, image, control, performance, cleverness, cannot enter that kingdom and cannot bring it into being. They belong to the stage of appearances, to applause and outcome and timing by calendar. Grace is not there. There is no God in the human scene of self-importance, comparison, and fear. Those that worship must worship in spirit and in truth. And truth is not flattered by your best act. It waits behind the act, undressed and simple, where nothing of you is presenting and everything of God is present. We are not here to collect statements. We are not here to polish the human scene, to become better at our role. We are here for a lived transition, a change of government. From I will handle to I yield. From my plan to thy is. Now then, let expectation be corrected. We are not building a staircase to heaven. We are laying down the hammer and discovering that heaven was never a floor above. It is a state, present, governing, the moment the personal I is unseated. So bring the weak place forward. Do not narrate it. Let it unmask you. The instant you stop defending it, the instant you refuse to fix it as identity, it ceases to be a wound and becomes a door. Through that door, not later, not improved, grace appears as inner government. Quiet, simple, enough. Now then, draw the line cleanly, not philosophically, but existentially. There is this world, the human scene of comparison, of cause and effect, of reputation managed by angles and calendars and watches. It is the realm of strain, the realm where every appearance must be supported by effort and guarded by fear. And there is my kingdom, spirit, grace, inner government, presence without performance. Not 1 inch of overlap. My kingdom is not of this world. It isn't even an improved this world. It is another government altogether. Here's the correction that the personal sense resists. God does not enter the human scene as a patch on your strategy. Grace is not a supplement to self-reliance, not a vitamin for your power plans. You cannot keep your hand on the levers and ask God to oil the gears. You cannot worship results and then invite Spirit to make them nicer. That is idolatry of outcome wearing holy words. There is no God in the human scene of bargaining. There is only the fatigue of trying to make the temporary behave as if it were eternal. You know the symptom. The strong one, how tired they are. The face is composed. The emails are precise. The calendar is filled with cleverness. And the body? Tight. The breath? Shallow. The night? Restless. Strength as image requires constant defense. Outcomes must be managed, impressions maintained, contingencies rehearsed. That is not strength. That is exile. Exile from the government of grace. The human scene can reward your pose for a season. It cannot feed you. It can clap. It cannot bless. Now then, let the paradox stand. You still function in this world. You answer phones. You sign contracts. You raise children. You write letters. But you are not of it. You cease to take identity from any of it. You stop looking out there to know who you are, or to know if you are safe. The scene informs your schedule. It does not define your life. My kingdom governs within. The world receives the residue. That is all. And you ask the honest question. If grace is real, why is it absent precisely where I ache? Because you keep asking it to appear inside the old frame, inside your demand that the appearance yield to your preference. You stand in this world and invite a little light to glamorize your picture. It will not come. Step out of the frame, not later, now. Stop arguing for your plan. Stop polishing the mask. And in that relinquishment, you will not bring God into the human scene. You will leave the human scene as your government. Still here, not of here. And the strain that could not be prayed away dissolves, not by being overcome, but by being jurisdictionally dismissed. Grace doesn't fix your act. It ends the act and lives you. Now then, let us come to the only doorway there is. Not a better plan, not an improved schedule, not a holier performance. The now, the living instant in which God is. There is no kingdom of heaven yesterday, and there is no kingdom of heaven tomorrow. Grace is a state of presence, not a date on a calendar. Whenever the rose blooms, it is now. It has never bloomed in a memory. It will never bloom in a forecast. It blooms in its isness. So with grace. Try it, and you will discover the law. Try to live a minute from now. See if you can take one breath a minute from now. You cannot. A minute from now is a complete vacuum. No air, no light, no bread, no God realized. Try to live an hour ago. Reach back and change a word you spoke. Touch a hand you missed. You cannot. An hour ago is a shadow. Echoes, pictures, explanations. Now is substance. Now then, if grace is only experienced now, what throws you out? Projection. What will happen if this weakness shows? What will they think? How will I survive? These are the levers of time. They are not facts. They are prophecies of fear. And with one prophecy, you are no longer present. You have stepped into the vacuum and asked to be nourished by it. The weak place feels dangerous for this one reason. The mind runs ahead to a tomorrow in which you are exposed, humiliated, lacking. That is not a vision. That is a confession that you intend to live without God in the only place God is. Nobody has ever found grace by rehearsing disasters that have not occurred. The physical ear will not hear this, because the physical ear is always late. It hears after the sound. Spirit hears now. Without sound, without sequence, without argument. Therefore, the practice is not complicated. When shame rises, when the heat comes up the neck and the explanations begin to jostle, stop. Do not narrate. Do not excuse. Do not run into yesterday to justify or into tomorrow to preempt. Return, now, to the inner stillness that does not need a defense. Not a long journey, a split second. Let the thought stop. Let the performer drop the script. In that fraction, you are back within jurisdiction, where grace is not a hope, but a presence governing. Notice the two lives. The strong persona lives in time. It lives by future-proofing, by contingency, by reputation management. Its breath is always slightly ahead of itself, and so it is always slightly starving. The surrendered one lives in the now. It listens inwardly before it moves outwardly. It answers the phone, signs the contract, but not to secure a tomorrow. It responds from presence, and presence supplies. Now then, this is not advice about being careless with the world. It is the instruction to take no identity, no safety from time. You are not asked to be brave later. You are invited to be still now. In stillness, the false I has nothing to govern, and grace assumes government because there is no rival. Here, not later. Is, not will be. And the weakness that frightened you becomes an opening, not by repair, but by nowness, where God is already, and where you, dropping time, can only ever meet Him. Now then, let us put a hard name on a soft fog. Fear is not a feeling to soothe. Fear is a confession. It says, I will handle this without God. It is the oath of the personal I, pledging itself to govern, to secure, to predict, to ensure its outcome by its own wisdom and speed. The moment that oath is taken, you have left the now and entered time. You have stepped under law, cause and effect, pressure and consequence, and you must keep the machinery turning with your own breath. Not sometimes, always. Fear is the signature that the false governor has seized the chair. See the mechanism. The false I must appear competent. To appear competent, it must not admit weakness. To protect that appearance, it must hold the future in its teeth. To hold the future, it must live under calculation, comparison, anticipation. That is law. Law demands payment. Law requires vigilance. Law gives no Sabbath to the one who runs it. The heart grows tight. The mind rehearses versions. The body becomes the mule of an anxious king. This is the human scene. My kingdom is not of this world. It isn't even an improved this world. It is another government altogether, and fear has no office there. Do not argue with fear as if it were weather passing through. It is an administration trying to install itself. If you accept its premise, you will now try to become more clever, more armored, more persuasive. You will call that prudence. It is idolatry of outcome in a pious suit. Nobody has ever found grace by upgrading the equipment of the false I. The disease is not weak armor. The disease is the soldier who believes he must fight alone. Now then, bring in the distinction that saves sanity. Responsible action is not personal government. You may take human footsteps, a phone call, a doctor's visit, a line to sign, a meal to prepare, but you do not carry your life on the back of those steps. You are not the lawgiver of your provision. You are the listener for guidance. The step is outward. The government is inward. And when the step is taken from the personal sense, it tightens the chest. When the step is taken from grace, it is simple, light, sufficient, without the aftertaste of self-approval or self-reproach. How do you know which one is operating? Fear speaks in futures. Grace speaks in now. Fear bargains. If I do this, then maybe that. Grace declares, is. Fear insists on credentials, witnesses, insurance. Grace requires one thing only: the disqualification of the personal I. Not sometimes, always. The instant you lean on personal strength as identity, you tighten into strain. And the instant you cease to lean, when, in a split second of silence, the thought stops asserting ownership, there is a soft collapse of burden and an unearned composure enters. Not a statement, a governance. Here is the mercy hidden in what you have called weak. Weakness collapses the illusion that you were governing anything at all. When the pose cannot be held, when the competence costume tears, you are spared the labor of being your own savior. Do not rush to patch it. Let it fall. In that falling, the false monarch is dethroned, and grace, already present, assumes its seat. Not later. Now. Still you will answer the phone, write the letter, tend the child. But you will not frighten yourself into them. You will not make them your altar. You will move as one under grace, where the only confession left is simple and clean. I do not live by my demonstration. I live by the government of God. Now then, let us take Paul, not as poetry, not as consolation to the weary performer, but as an axiom of government. My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. The physical ear cannot hear this any more than it can hear the ocean in a shell. It will take the sentence as encouragement for a hard day. But spirit hears the mechanism, the law. Perfect does not mean your weakness will become impressive, admirable, or even manageable. Perfect means the personal I drops out of the circuit, disqualified, dismissed, and only grace remains to register as power. Paul is not romanticizing weakness. He is not building a shrine to frailty. He is unveiling the way obstruction ends. Weakness reveals that the form you trusted, your cleverness, your resilience, your rehearsed composure, cannot carry you into my kingdom. The instant you see that, not as a slogan but as exposure, the false governor is unseated. My strength is made perfect, not by adding muscle to your will, not by adding polish to your persona, but by the subtraction of the one who was claiming authorship. My kingdom is not of this world. It is not even an improved this world. It is a realm where I ceases, and is all. Consider the thorn. Paul names it and cannot remove it, prays, and is answered not with extraction, but with sufficiency. The thorn is universal. Yours may wear the face of a body that refuses to behave, a relationship that cannot be coerced, a reputation you cannot keep spotless, a compulsion that mocks your vows. Every attempt to make it conform by personal power tightens the knot, because every attempt is the reinstatement of the old monarch. The thorn, if received, is sacrament. It is the point at which pretense becomes too expensive to maintain. It is where you stop pretending. And pretense has been the blockade. Now then, bring this from Scripture to your chair. The next time the thorn pricks, the flush of shame, the tremor in the voice, the blank mind in the meeting, do not reach for theater. Do not erect a defense. Stop. In a split second of silence, when a thought stops and the tongue is spared its explanation, the truth rushes in. Not a phrase, not a technique. Government. The burden, which was the burden of being your own savior, slips, and something else, simple, unforced, unspectacular, stands where you were straining to stand. That is, my strength made perfect. Do not mistake this for permission to be careless, or for an excuse to admire collapse. It is instruction in jurisdiction. You will still answer the phone. You will still keep the appointment. But the generator of self-importance is off. You are not manufacturing strength. You are no longer obstructing it. Weakness has done its holy work by removing the claimant. Nobody becomes impressive to God. Only transparency, no I in front of is. In the human scene, strength is performance. Steady eye, unbroken voice, a record of wins. In the kingdom, strength is anonymity of self and immediacy of grace. The thorn reminds you that you have no reputation to preserve in spirit. My kingdom is not of this world. Reputations rot there. Here, in presence, sufficiency is not accrued, it is discovered. And the discovery waits not on healing the thorn, not on tomorrow's plan, but on the present surrender where you let the thorn do what it came to do. Disqualify the personal I, so that strength, already perfect, can be all that is left. Now then, hear this as correction and as release. Nobody can give you the assurance you are craving. Not a partner, not a pastor, not an audience, not a bank account, not even a healing in the body. Assurance is not transferred by touch. It is not awarded by applause. It is not certified by numbers. It is the fruit of government, inner government. Grace assuming its rightful throne where the personal I has ceased its negotiations. My kingdom is not of this world. It isn't even an improved this world. Therefore, there is no assurance in it. See the loop that has been running your life. You pretend strength to purchase safety through approval. You hold your face just so, your tone just so, your record just so, hoping the collective nod will quiet the tremor under the ribs. It never pays. Approval spends like counterfeit, bright, quick, and gone. Borrowed assurance demands interest, more pose, more proof, more hours under the law of performance. This is the economy of the human scene. There is no God in that market. There is only the fatigue of trying to redeem yourself with other people's faces. Let us bring it into this room. Not one in this room can live your life for you. Not one in this room can bear your consciousness for you. I cannot. The best friend cannot. The most devoted circle cannot. If you require me, or this room, or any arrangement out there to feel safe in here, you have made an idol and called it comfort. And idols, even beautiful ones, always charge you your peace as the price of their company. When they nod, you rise. When they turn away, you fall. That is not life. That is servitude to shadows. Now then, change the aim. We are not seeking validation. We are consenting to inner government. We are not scavenging for signs to prove we are held. We are yielding the claimant who keeps demanding proof. The supply of assurance is not outside. It is within. It is disclosed, not achieved, when the personal I stops bargaining with conditions, stops presenting its resume to heaven, stops asking the world to cosign its worth. Assurance is what remains when the negotiator is quiet, and grace is permitted to be what it is: sufficient. How is this lived? In the very instant you feel the tug to check. Check the eyes of the room, the phone, the balance, the mirror, the calendar. Stop. Let the thought stop. A split second of silence deprives fear of its language and cuts the wire to the outside meter. In that fraction, there is no future to secure and no past to justify. There is only is. And in is, the heart knows without argument. Not a statement, a presence. Government. My kingdom is not of this world, not of the courtroom of opinion, not of the bank, not of the bulletin. Still you will have companions. Still you will keep accounts. Still you will speak and be spoken to. But you will not ask any of them to carry your life. Their yes will not inflate you. Their no will not deflate you. The center has shifted. Once the outer is demoted to its rightful place, the inner sanctuary becomes the only rational ground on which to stand. Stand there, now. And assurance is not delivered to you. It arises in you as the quiet fact of being under grace. Now. Now then, there is a place that no sentence can cross and no ear can enter. The physical ear can never hear truth any more than the physical tongue can utter truth. Yet truth can and does announce itself. When? In the split second when a thought stops. Not for a minute, not for a prayer session. A split second. In that gap, without word or argument, the truth rushes in. Not as information, as presence. Government. The earth, which is to say the heaviness of the personal I, melts. Not because you have said the right thing, but because the talker is silent, and the talker was the obstruction. Shame knows this, and therefore keeps you talking. Shame's strategy is performance. Explain, justify, rehearse, confess to win approval, confess to preempt blame, narrate the weakness as identity so that the world will treat it gently. It is a theater that requires a stage, an audience, a spotlight of self-concern. It fears silence because silence cuts the power to its sound system. No monologue can continue when the curtain drops. In silence, there is nobody to plead, nobody to defend, nobody to judge. Shame loses its voice because it has no breath of its own. It lives on your narration. So here is the inner sequence. Simple, unadorned, exact. First, notice the weak place the instant it pricks. Not as a signal to fix yourself, but as an alarm that the performer is waking. Second, refuse the self-condemnation story. Do not furnish it. Do not call witnesses. Do not draft a speech to get ahead of it. Third, stop the mental argument. Let the next thought be no thought. Drop it. And fourth, enter the split second. You cannot make it. You can only cease to obstruct it. A breath falls into the body. The chest softens. A quiet that is not of your making appears. Not the peace you earned, the peace that is present when you are not presenting. Prayer, then, is not pleading for better lines for your drama. Prayer is surrendering the playwright. Thy grace is sufficient. Not as a charm, not even as a declaration to impress the mind, but as consent. I yield the chair. I renounce the administration of outcomes. I let the mind grow still enough to receive what mind cannot think. When a thought stops, and for a split second there is only is, spirit registers. not necessarily a statement of truth, but truth itself. And then the earth melted. Now then, do not mistake this silence for passivity. It is not withdrawal, it is transfer of government. In that fraction where the personal I stops claiming authorship, responsibility drops back to where it belongs. Grace. You will still have steps. A call will be made, a word spoken, an appointment kept. But the weight will be gone. The timing will not be coerced. It will unfold. The guidance will not be wrung from anxiety. It will be recognized. This is what it means to say, "My kingdom is not of this world." It isn't even an improved this world. It is a realm where silence is not emptiness. It is authority. In this room, you do not need a future to become free. You need a fraction without the talker. Let shame come and find no stage. Let the thought that would run ahead stop short. In that split second, the invisible becomes practical. And the burden that could not be managed because it was never yours slides away by jurisdiction. You will feel the hinge begin to turn, the transition we speak of next, where you are no longer a student rehearsing truths, but one under grace, relaxed, moved, supplied, because the only voice left is the one that does not speak and governs all. Now then, this is the hinge. Up to a point we are students, good students, sometimes desperate students, reciting truths, arranging thoughts, trying to fix ourselves with our own improved versions of prayer. We underline, we memorize, we monitor our progress. We ask for better results. We try to manage a holier performance. All of that has its day, and it is not evil, it is simply preliminary. It keeps attention near the door, but it does not open the door. The opening is not your accomplishment, it is your relinquishment. There is a definite point of transition in time and space. It is not imaginary. It may happen at 10 o'clock, it may happen at midnight, it may happen at 3 a.m. It may happen while washing a dish or waiting in a car, or halfway through a sentence you cannot finish. A thought stops. A breath descends. The shoulders release a responsibility they can no longer pretend to carry. And in that split second, the center of government moves. You relax, truly, finally, and never again feel responsible for running your universe. Not careless, released. You discover that you had been acting as treasurer, sheriff, judge, and press secretary of a kingdom that was never yours. What changes first is not the scene. The bill is still on the table. The diagnosis is on the paper. The reputation has its rumors. But consciousness has moved off the stage of "I must" and into the sanctuary of "is." You find that supply, guidance, timing, provision, has shifted from hope to inner certainty. Not bravado, not denial, a quiet knownness. Steps appear without campaigning. The phone rings without your fretting. The door you were trying to push opens inward. You are no longer begging strength from the world. You are letting strength, which is grace, do its ordinary work where there is no longer a rival administrator. Notice the felt marks of the change. The compulsion to appear strong loses its glamour. You do not audition for acceptance, not even with God. You stop arranging apologies in advance. The mind ceases to bargain for a safer tomorrow. You find yourself answering what is before you without postponement, and when there is nothing before you, you do nothing, without guilt. The calendar continues, but time has lost its jurisdiction over your peace. The outer still requests your signature. The inner refuses to sign away its government. My kingdom is not of this world. It isn't even an improved this world. It is a government present now, sufficient now, directing now. Do not mythologize this as a lightning spectacle. It is precise, sober, unmistakable. A moment, then a life ordered by that moment. Up to that point, you were a seeker after God. After that point, you are under grace. You will still meet the human scene, contracts, clinics, kitchens, and courts, but you will meet them from another realm. Nobody. Nobody. Out there is your assurance or your strength. You carry your own weather, and that weather is the stillness in which the talker is quiet and the governor is present. Now then, consent. Relax the claim of I, and let government be God. Now. Now then. Give up yesterday. Give up tomorrow. Not as a slogan, as law. Yesterday's guilt and tomorrow's dread are not information. They are the mind's way of keeping you in the human scene, where strain is the only government. Every look back is a petition to the court of memory. Every look ahead is a petition to the court of prediction. Neither court contains God. My kingdom is not of this world. It isn't even an improved this world. It is presence. It is. And is now. Here is the subtle trap that ruins many honest beginnings. Having seen the weakness, you start to wear it. I am broken. I am the anxious one. I am the one with the thorn. The ego has only changed costumes. No longer proud, it becomes piously wounded, and still it keeps the microphone. That is not humility. That is personal sense inverted. It is the same administration of self under a softer lighting. Nobody comes under grace by turning a weakness into a brand. You are not asked to market your hurt. You are asked to renounce the storyteller and step out of time. Do not wrestle with shame. Do not arm it with your attention. We do not overcome jealousy, fear, shame, guilt in the way of this world. We come into a kingdom where there are none of these things existent, because there is no personal I for them to attach to. Replace narrative with presence. When the old film begins to roll, scenes of failure, previews of exposure, stop. Let the thought stop. In a split second of silence, the projector loses power, not by argument, by jurisdiction. The talker ceases, and grace, which needs no plot to justify itself, governs. Tough love now. There is no use talking about it endlessly. There is no virtue in long explanations of how it happened, who did what might occur. Keep quiet and go ahead and struggle if you must. Wash the dish with the tremor. Send the note with the throb in the throat. But do not dramatize. Do not solicit sympathy as currency. Sympathy buys you minutes and charges your soul interest. Silence, even imperfect, returns you to solvency. The discipline is simple. Whenever you feel the pull of yesterday or tomorrow, renounce it. Out loud if you must. No. Then be still. Now. Understand what discipline is in this way. It is not self-improvement. It is not tightening the jaw to become a better self. Discipline in the life under grace is staying where grace is operative. Now. It is fidelity to presence. It is refusing to step under the old government for even one prediction, one self-accusation, one proud rehearsal of defeat. When you catch yourself narrating the old identity, lay down the pen. When you catch yourself fortune-telling, dismiss the prophet. return to is. There, shame cannot prosecute. There, guilt has no file. There, dread has no calendar. You will still have footsteps. You will apologize if an apology is given you to speak. You will repair what can be repaired. But you will not memorialize your weakness as self. You will not drag yesterday like a relic or kneel to tomorrow as an idol. This is renunciation, and it is freedom. In that faithfulness to now, you remain under grace, and staying there is all the discipline asked of you. From that remaining, supply will not be your project. It will be your atmosphere. Guidance will not be wrested. It will be recognized. Timing will not be engineered. It will unfold. Now then, give up the times. Give up the names. Live where is, and let grace be what it is. Government. Now then, let us speak plainly of supply. Not money, not outcomes. Supply is the felt assurance that life is carried, guided, directed, upheld from within. It is the sense, not the sentence, that government has returned to its rightful throne. When that government is grace, footsteps are given without the heart dragging a future behind each step. My kingdom is not of this world. It isn't even an improved this world. Therefore, supply is not an upgrade of anxiety. It is the absence of anxiety because jurisdiction has changed. Under law, you plan, push, and panic. You carry the calendar in your chest. You move ahead of guidance, and then call the rush prudence. That is strain. Under grace, you take the next step, and only the next. You do not mortgage the moment to buy a future. You answer what is, and because you are not managing tomorrow, the breath is unlabored, and the pace is sane. Needs appear and are met by timing, not by force. Doors open, or they do not, and there is no compulsion to pry a hinge. Do not romanticize this. It is principle. Mathematics does not bow to emotion. 2 and 2 are 4, whether frightened or bold. You do not beg arithmetic to be true. You align with it. Music does not yield to volume. Harmony appears when the principle of key and time are honored, whether the fingers tremble or not. So with supply. Grace operates by consciousness alignment, not by emotional intensity. Loud prayers do not move it. Quiet obedience reveals it. When a thought stops, when the personal I ceases its clamor, principle registers, and what seemed impossible settles into order without theatrics. Here is the temptation you must expose. The mind cries, "Give me a sign so I can trust." Grace answers, "Trust," and you will discover that trust is the sign. Not later, now. Consent to governance before evidence, and the evidence that matters appears first in you. The pressure lifts. The frenzy drains. A simple rightness arranges timing and provision without your whip. Then the outer follows, not as a prize, but as the natural sequence of principle acknowledged. If you insist on bargaining for tokens, you remain a beggar outside the bank of your own being. Let us correct another snare. My demonstration. No, there is no my in the kingdom. The moment you personalize the outcome as your achievement, you re-enter law and must maintain results with your own breath. Demonstration belongs to grace. Your part is surrender. Surrender is not collapse. It is the cessation of interference. Then supply is automatic, like gravity keeping your feet, like integrity making the bank teller return what isn't his without a struggle, like sap rising in the tree without meetings to plan spring. Do not imagine this is for the gifted. Nobody has a private line to God. The principle is universal because the self that lives it is universal. The only one disqualified is the one insisting on being qualified. Cease to manage and you reveal what already is. Guidance that does not argue, timing that does not bruise, provision that does not brag. You will still have bills and appointments, tools and tasks, but not as masters. They become scenes in which the quiet fact of is supplies itself, and your life, relieved of the theater of me, moves without strain, as under grace. Now then, we do not become superhuman, we become less personal. The same sidewalks, the same desks, the same names on the phone, but the administrator has changed. You remain in this world, but you are not of its economy of poses, bargains, and applause. You are no longer selling strength or leasing assurance. The weak place, once your shame and your advertisement, is now the opening through which a different government flows. You do not fix the weak place to qualify for grace. You allow it to expose the claimant, and by that exposure, you cease to be the claimant. Then life goes on, not larger, not louder, truer. How does this look? Compassion without sentimentality. You can sit with another's grief without rummaging for a speech. You can hear panic without becoming a second panic. Steadiness without posing. You do not practice your face in the mirror before you answer the door. Presence that does not prove itself. No resume of miracles. No, watch me, holiness. In the shop, in the ward, in the meeting, you find yourself unhurried inside, even when the outer moves quickly. You speak the word given, or you keep silence, and there is no itch to decorate either with drama. The blessing is not your personality. It is the absence of your management, so that grace may touch what is before you without your fingers on the scale. This is not sectarian. Jesus names it. My kingdom is not of this world. Paul discovers it as sufficiency in weakness. Lao Tzu whispers it as the way that does nothing and leaves nothing undone. Buddha sits it as the end of grasping. Shankara calls it the self that is. Call it what you will, the physical ear cannot hear it, yet the soul recognizes it as is. Not my, not yours, is. Those that worship God must worship in spirit and in truth, lift themselves out of the human scene, though their feet still touch its floors, and consent to a government that does not run on scarcity, fear, or reputation. Now then, the charge is plain. Practice the now. Refuse yesterday's report and tomorrow's forecast. When insufficiency pricks, do not grab tools. Permit the split second of silence. Let the talker drop. In that fraction, grace registers and government transfers. Nobody can do this for you. But the doing is not doing. It is ceasing to obstruct. At the very point you feel least qualified, say nothing inwardly and allow sufficiency to be what it is, present. So you remain here, signing forms, washing dishes, answering children. And yet, you are not here as a performer. You are here as transparency. Weakness is not a disqualifier. It is the door. Through that door, the kingdom is felt. Through that door, your life becomes a quiet blessing, unimpressed with itself, unafraid of its thorn, free of the market of faces, because my kingdom is not of this world. not even an improved this world. And there, as here, grace is sufficient. Now.